business innovation in the 21st century, stat-free Six Sigma, Six Sigma Performance Handbook, and Service Scorecard. Praveen is the founding editor-in-chief of International Journal of Innovation and Science and writes monthly columns for Manufacturing Excellence in the Quality magazine. Praveen frequently speaks at conferences internationally. Praveen worked at Motorola and AT&T Bell Laboratories and consulted with about 100 small to large companies, including CNNA, Abbott Labs, and many more. He has conducted seminars worldwide for over 20 years. Praveen holds a BS in Electrical Engineering from IIT Rourke, India, and an MS in Electrical Engineering from IIT Chicago, Illinois. He holds numerous awards and honors, including the Professional Achievement Award 2008, all at IIT, 3 CEO awards at Motorola for Six Sigma projects, Motorola Engineering Award, Certified Master Black Belt, Professional Engineer, and ASQ Fellow. And now, here with great honor, Praveen Gupta.
Thanks, Rick, for having me here. I'm glad to be part of this conference and look forward to sharing my innovation experience with people here. My topic today is innovation, a requirement today. Why should we learn innovation? Give you some perspective that in 2000 I launched a .com business, and it was a very innovative solution, but for some reason the timing, the market window, it did not work, and then I started questioning what did I do wrong, and I came to the conclusion through a series of questions that the primary question was, what should a business do? And I started exploring answers to my questions about the success of a business. So the first thing I learned that most corporations today focus on profit. And I learned that when you start a new business, our first priority is to get the sales, get the revenue. So here's my conclusion that the fundamental strategy for every business is to sustain profitable growth. Because profit alone requires action, and the growth requires thinking, requires innovation. So we have to do both, action and thinking. So I started writing books on this topic in terms of for Six Sigma, process management, and as I was exploring the value of the Six Sigma topics, and I combined theory of constraints with Six Sigma process, and that led me to the discovery of need for innovative thinking, learning about innovation. So my purpose became, how can I develop the science of innovation that can be taught to people? And since then, of course, I have written a few books on this topic, including Business Innovation in the 21st Century, The Innovation Solution, and currently I'm co-editing Global Innovation Science Handbook. And in this process, about 4 years ago, we also launched International Journal of Innovation Science. So as a words of wisdom, some people have observed this, that historically innovation has been embedded in organizational structure as the responsibility of R&D department, focused almost exclusively on development of technology in supply-driven markets. But what is now required, however, is a business process focused on innovation rather than a business structure focused on R&D. This is according to Howard Smith from Computer Sciences Corporation. Peter Drucker, who first recognized the value of innovation, he authored an article, The Discipline of Innovation, 1980s, 85, and then he wrote a book, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He separated entrepreneurship from innovation. So according to Peter Drucker, an established company which in an age demanding innovation is not able to innovate is doomed to decline or extinction. And that is 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So as you can see, we still have a long way to go to really learn about the innovation process, standardize it, and benefit from it. In 2003, when I was developing this, when I decided to develop this innovation science or work on this innovation science, I said, what's my reasons? And my understanding was this century is also the century of mass customization. That means we need massive innovations. If you go around in supermarkets and shopping centers, you are seeing more and more innovations frequently. So when we have this need for massive innovation, we must learn to accelerate innovation. As we already know, product life cycles are shrinking. To accelerate innovation, that means it must be institutionalized. And in order to be institutionalized, we must learn, or it must be standardized, and we must understand better. And to understand better, then we must go back and learn the best practices, look up to the best innovators, such as Einstein, Edison, Newton, Galileo, and Ford, and many other innovators. And once we understand the innovation, then we should develop the process, the tools, methodologies, and measurements so that it can be commercialized. Equipped with these, all the methods and science of innovation, we must focus on developing in-house innovation competency. It's not to be outsourced, but we must all learn how to utilize our intellectual resources productively and profitably. And most importantly, the leadership must commit to the fundamental strategy, as I mentioned earlier, to sustain profitable growth. Let's look at the state of innovation in the United States. If you look at the automotive industry, electronics and manufacturing, software development, healthcare, either they're outsourced or they're too expensive, and we are wondering, what do we do here? So there's a great opportunity, and I have learned that whenever there's a challenge, there's a contradiction, that's a great opportunity to innovate. And that's how I got into it. When I failed in my dot-com business, my conclusion was, if I have very limited financial resources, I must bring out my intellectual best. So in tough times, in economic tough times, people, corporations must pay attention to their intellectual resources. Interestingly, pretty much all countries, Japan, China, India, Mexico, Finland, you name it, European Union, all of them have national innovation initiatives or policies where they know in order to maintain their standards of living, they must innovate, they must grow. There are only two choices, either you grow or you shrink or you reduce. So we have to focus on proactively how do we grow personally, professionally, and academically. One thing I've noticed that math and writing skills in this internet age are declining. So we have to find a way, and these are very good intellectual activities, so we must find a way to reinforce some of those skills. And then today we have become technology fanatic, physically active, and mentally idle. We must recognize the last century was a century of industrialization, mass production. This century is of mass customization, and everything is unique, and mass innovation. You know, according to this need for innovation, U.S. Congress passed an Act of Innovation in 2005. And they funded about $300 million through various agencies, and we have to see those benefits. But again, that's not going to be enough. I think it has to, but it was symbolic that as a national government and our government leaders are looking into innovation as a way to revive our economy and to create more new opportunities. Now, as we look into this innovation opportunities, we have questions. One of the first questions is, how can we measure innovation? Can we quantify innovation? Which innovation methodology to use? Because there's so many out there. What is the innovation process? Can it be learned? What is the building block of innovation? What should we do to teach innovation in our schools, colleges, and at workplace? And then we all have our own personal questions. Can I be innovative? You know, in my semester's education at IIT Chicago, I found a few people who come and say, you know, I can never learn innovation. And interestingly, they won the first prize. So we have seen people who believe they cannot learn innovation, they turn out to be the best innovators. So it is a learned skill. We have to learn, and we have to understand it better. Now look at the business perspective. Business issues, what are they today? These still are competing based on the cost, not on the value. We don't have executable strategic plan for innovation in our organizations. We focus on a few strategic products for too long. We don't obsolete the old products because we are not able to replace them with the newer products. We lack a standard innovation process. There is not enough funding and resources commitment for innovation, for new product development. We have a lack of trust in our organizations, risk-averse nature of the business, R&D driven, lack of accountability. You know, as somebody has said, R&D is the most important process, least effective, least productive, and least accountable process. So we have to find a way to focus on the R&D process, the product development process, because it affects 70% of the cost factors. And we need to find a way to make it better, because the success rate of R&D process, new products, innovative solutions are still in the low teens, between 5 to 20% numbers. And R&D process today in most companies is about management, is about project management, not about innovations. As a result, we have very incremental innovations, a lot of me-too products, but not really breakthrough products. And we have seen if company develops a very innovative product, they can make a lot of money. Success rate is very high if people focus on it. So what has been happening recently in the field of innovation, a lot of large consulting companies have been conducting surveys. So I will share with you some of those findings. For example, Accenture, they have done the survey, but they find that most companies have established a formal system in place for innovation, supported by defined processes for bringing new ideas to the market. They also have observed that companies' innovation successes have been primarily with the new products and services. The top 3 barriers to innovation include predicting future trends, reducing time to market for an innovation, and leveraging new technology. Boston Consulting Group, what they found that most executives do believe that innovation is their top priority. 82% believe the minor improvements to existing products or services are very important. Then executives consider a risk-averse corporate culture, lengthy product development time, and inadequate measurement practices to be key areas of weakness. So we are learning that the long product development times is a common barrier to successfully launching new products. IBM has been conducting CEO studies for the last 8-10 years, and in the most recent one they have found that creativity is the skill, the trait that trumps leadership characteristics, is a required trait for leadership. And then reinventing customer relationships, identifying more opportunities for future products and services is a great idea. And then CEOs believe that embedding complexity in a simple, elegant product is a great recipe for success. McKinsey is another large consulting firm, and I believe their findings sort of summarizes what's going on in the industry. And according to McKinsey's report, executives say innovation is very important, but their company's approach to innovation is very informal, and leaders lack confidence in their innovation decisions. Companies discourage talented staff from pursuing innovation by offering limited incentives, being risk-averse, and have no plans for dealing with failures. So they have made recommendations, and 3 recommendations include: 1, that innovation must be on the leadership agenda, not once a year, not once in 5 years, but as an operations plan every month, every day. Then they must inspire innovation. And then we must improve tools and processes to make our innovation process more efficient and more effective. CEO of GE, Jeffrey Immelt, was invited by our president to his Economic Advisory Council, and so they have conducted their innovation surveys, and they call it GE Global Innovation Barometer. According to that, 88% respondents believe innovation is the best way to create jobs in their country. Innovation is a trusted driver for improvement in most areas of citizens' lives. The last 2 findings are wonderful because I love those 2 findings. They validate our initial work that we started for innovation science in 2003. And those 2 are, number 1, in the 21st century, we would need new rules of innovations. All rules are not going to be sufficient, going to be effective, are not going to give enough return on investment. And then SMEs, small to medium enterprises, and individuals can be as big innovators as large corporations. Innovation is not limited to anymore the 4 walls in a corporation. It's open. Individuals have similar resources available to them as large corporations. So, but as management, as a business, we want to quantify what do I get from innovation. Our analysis of return on investment in innovation shows that conventional methods of innovation yield about 10 to 15 cents on a dollar. What does it mean? That it will take 5 to 7 years to recover the investment, and we don't have the luxury to recover the investment because product life cycles are shrinking. You can see products changing daily. They are stored. They only have inventory for 2 weeks. Can't even have that beyond that. So we have a challenge. How do we innovate? How do we develop new products or services quickly? Procter & Gamble, one of the most successful companies in the United States, have their most recent return on investment as per our formula, 20 cents on a dollar. If that is the case, 20 cents on a dollar gives you return on an investment in the equity in 5 years. That's too long. Even they are now reviewing their own innovation process. How can they make it faster? On the other hand, the new age companies, look at Apple for example, they would yield, at least recent data, about $2 on a dollar. So we know that smart innovations that can be produced faster, they also have potential to give higher returns, but they requires new rules. If you look at overall in business, where are the opportunities? Why are we talking about innovation? If you look at the manufacturing processes, we have mastered them. We have perfected them. 99.999%, the Six Sigma, the perfection, the lean, everything we have done. We are still struggling. If you look at the new product successes, 5 to 15%. How can you have a sloppy photographic film to develop a perfect positive in old technology, in the conventional photography language? You cannot. And we know that the new product development and the R&D, the design, influence 70% of the cost factors. So the success rate of startups, new products, mergers and acquisitions, venture-funded projects, they're all in 5 to 20% range. So we have the greatest opportunity in our corporations, in our organizations, in our society to use our intellectual resources more effectively and optimally. And can you imagine if we can just improve the success rate of new products from 10, 15% to 20, 30%? That's a huge change, big impact, big opportunity. So Bill Gates, in 2007, in his speech at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, he sort of shared his recipe for success. According to Bill Gates, I think we must focus on our building customer relationships, where we learn about the customer needs, implicit or hidden, and then we take those back to the organization and innovate new products and services. Work with the suppliers and partners in order to speed up the innovation, and then optimize the operations to make sure the innovations are profitable. You know, most innovations lose money. We must focus on profitable innovations. So we have to believe that people create value, and we must delight customers to develop new product services and to grow the business. So if you look at the trend in businesses, we see the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China was a huge innovation. It took hundreds of years. Brick and mortar, just plain brick and mortar innovation, is the only human man-made innovation we can see from our space shuttle. So, but if you notice, the life of this innovation is hundreds of years. It lasts many years, and still people love it. It's a great innovation. Now, just to symbolically show you, the next big innovation was the train, moving wall. You can move innovators and communicate faster, create new product services faster. And then comes the airplane that can even move faster. And that was the last century. And then this century, we have the innovation called iPod. Is the most innovative product of this century, selling in millions and millions. And if you notice, today's few smart companies like Google and Facebook and Apple, they might even have close to 1 billion customers. It is known that Facebook took 7 years to get billion customers. We can have that kind of opportunity today, which we didn't have in last century. So in this century, now imagine nobody bought iPod. Apple makes iPod, but nobody buys it. What would be called the most innovative product? No, it would be called a piece of crap or just a creativity. What we learned from this, that innovation means people buy it. People use it. It creates value. So maybe it's a good time to clarify the difference between creativity, invention, and innovation. Creativity is an idea. When you think of something new, it's an idea, it's a creative product, creative concepts. And invention is when you take the creative idea, produce something from it, realize your concept, that's invention. Innovation is when you reproduce it many times over. You recover the investment from your investment in the production of the idea, that's called innovation. So innovation In simple terms, it means applied creativity. So in other words, creativity is a thought, invention is an investment, and innovation is return on your investment. So it's good to recognize the difference because there's a lot of confusion between creativity and innovation, and people have their own definition, which is fine. But in simple terms, innovation is when you make your creative idea work and produce value. Then look at the Google. Everybody uses Google today. Almost everybody uses Google or some similar search engines. If you look at the Google, what does it look like? Is it a beautiful product? No, it's a simple, plain, white screen. And if you use it, it looks even uglier, just a lot of mumbo jumbo, a lot of information. But people love it. Why? Because it is giving you information, it is making you feel smarter, it is allowing you to create new knowledge faster. And this is what we're living in. So the trend today is from brick and mortar innovations like Great Wall of China to train to plane to iPads and Googles. So today, this century is also called a smart century. You know, most of us have Facebook. So when we use a new product or services, we share our experiences on the Facebook. It's also called experience economy. So if we don't develop a good, innovative product, people go to Facebook, what an experience, I have a horrible experience, and you are out of the business. On the other hand, if you delight your customers, you surprise your customers, innovation is wonderful, people go back to the Facebook again and say, wow, I have the great experience. It becomes a viral. You can get a lot of customers faster. So our goal is, when we develop innovation, that we must provide, innovations must create enjoyable experience. Isaac Asimov, who wrote a lot of books on robotics, says today when people develop something new, nobody says eureka. What they say, oh, it's funny, I love it. So today our goal is not to just develop what people need, but develop something people will love to have. People enjoy the experience. That's the change we have in this century. The trend is now, one, develop smart innovations, create enjoyable experiences, and make it profitable and do it faster. Those are the challenges we have in this century for innovation. And innovation is the process. When you have challenges, you should never give the opportunity up to create something new. And we have found people have unlimited potential. One of the questions then is, can everyone be creative? And we have learned that everybody is born creative because we never do same thing twice exactly the same way in our entire life. So we are creative. So the issue is not about creativity, it's about harnessing creativity. That how do we inspire people to dig deeper into this big black box, the black ball they have on our heads, that what's in it, and create some new solutions. So this is really becoming a worldwide war because everybody who is on the internet can develop new solutions. Large corporations are buying innovative solutions, not from companies, buying from individuals. So our competition is now individuals, small, medium enterprises, large corporations. It's an open field, even field. So every individual has a great opportunity to learn about innovation, exploit the intellectual capabilities, and create value and become rich. So it's a worldwide war for innovation. Everybody's trying to do it at the country level, national level, community level. So we have community innovation model where we want to inspire people in a community to develop innovative solutions for their local needs. Every business cannot be a global business. We need to do a large number of businesses everywhere, and people learn the process, identify the opportunities, develop new solutions, and make some money in the process. And so in the community innovation model, we are working with some local governments where we are trying to use their resources to identify the individuals who love what they do and they are passionate about certain topics, matching with the community needs, and help them develop a new business. And this is becoming popular throughout the world, actually, in many countries. So one of the questions were earlier when I was looking into what should a business do, what we found, the answer to the question was, we need, number one, a basic fundamental strategy. It's called sustained profitable growth. It can be a profit, grow, but profitably. In order to accomplish that, we must have the right measurements. So we developed a Six Sigma business scorecard. Again, the purpose of a scorecard is not to give you some numbers, but is to identify the opportunities to do better. The right areas to focus on objectively not emotionally. Then we also learned that excellence is a prerequisite for innovation. We cannot be a sloppy innovators, and that's one of the challenges. So in America, for example, it is not the shortage of innovation, but the innovation that can be executed well. So we have to focus on achieving perfection. In the past, we have learned to err is human and to perfect is God's act. No, today we can aim for perfection. There are tools available, capabilities are there, and humans have unlimited potential. So excellence is very critical to make money, to make profit. Then to grow the business, we have only two choices. Either we grow or we shrink. So we must grow the business, and if we are growing the business, we must learn how to innovate, and innovation allows you to create new products or services. And remember, our goal is to create new products and services that give users enjoyable experience, not painful experience. Don't give what they need, but say, wow, I want to do it. I want to buy it, not want to. Not only I want to buy it, but have my friends buy it too, make it viral. So you want to get that kind of experience. And then sustain excellence, sustain profitable growth. So the model of excellence has to be there. I have learned through my research that our process thinking model, so-called PDCA, was originally developed for product control by Schuhart. And we have been using the same model for process management. We have to learn from the experience of people like Ishikawa, Joran, Deming, Taguchi, and use what they have done to remedy some of the issues with PDCA and then achieve excellence. So 5 pieces required: the fundamental strategy, the scorecard, the excellence, innovation, and good process management. So as the words of wisdom, that constant reinvention is a central necessity. We are all just a moment away from commodity health. That's what Jeffrey Hamilton said. So it is mandatory that we just don't sit on our laurels, and feel comfortable just having one new innovation. We have to plan a portfolio of innovations to grow the revenue, not just for today, but today, tomorrow, day after, and for the future. So we must invest some money in fundamental innovations, some in the platform, the new great products, and then some industry-specific products, and then, of course, personalization at all levels. Bill Gates, according to Bill Gates, intellectual property has a shelf life of a banana. And that just tells you how much innovation is occurring. And if we are not playing the role, if we are not participating, we are missing out the great opportunity. So you must figure out, how can I be part of the innovation century and play a role and benefit? I think everybody has an opportunity to become innovative, create new opportunities, pursue their passion and dream, and create wealth for yourself and for the community. And then Larry Ellison, according to him, he's the CEO and the founder of Oracle. When you innovate, you have got to be prepared for everyone telling you you are nuts. And be prepared, because when you have the new idea, people will reject it. It's much easier to criticize than construct. Einstein said, if your idea doesn't sound absurd in the beginning, it must not be innovative enough. So don't be afraid of having sounds like a bad idea. And then we have learned that it takes more time for people to think of the stupid ideas than good ideas. And Isaac Asimov said that when people develop new solutions, new ideas, people don't say eureka or some scientific discovery. It is about the experience. I love it. It's funny. So we have to find a way to inspire people to enjoy the experience and create more enjoyable experiences through new products and services. So the question is, can we learn creativity? So, IIT Chicago has set up a center. It's called Center for Innovation, Science, and Applications. And where our premise is, our objective is to bring education and innovation to people at all levels: executives, managers, supervisors, professionals, product development people. And one of the processes, how can we teach people creativity? So I have these 3 basic, simple rules of creativity. And you can go practice it, and you will see how creative you are. And I found, if I ask a question in a room, how many of us are creative? About 15% of people say, yes, I'm creative. Most of us doubt ourselves, even though we know we are creative. So the 3 basic rules of creativity, and go practice them. Number 1 is decide to be creative. Commit yourself, yes, I'm going to be creative, utilize my intellectual potential. And here's the secret of creativity, the most powerful rule you will learn. The creativity is combining two or three more things uniquely. So when you take, and if you notice, every innovation is a new combination. So now the challenge is, how do you find the new combinations? Some people like cooking. How do you create a new recipe? Creating a new recipe, people say new ingredients and new ways. Only two ways you can innovate, new ingredients and new ways. So challenge is now, in order for us to become more innovative, discover new ingredients and discover new ways. We teach you the new ways, you discover the new ingredients, and the new ingredients come from diverse experiences. We have found most R&D people are highly educated and qualified people. But our education develops our left brain, which is not even supposed to be creative. It's the right brain. So we have to give our highly educated people diverse experiences in order to utilize both sides of the brain. You know, it comes to my mind, and Dr. Deming has 14 points, and then one of the point is drive out the fear. How do we drive out the fear? And in the context of innovation, I have learned and that we can answer Deming's point, drive out the fear, by bringing in fun. So when you bring in fun, people enjoy the experience and they think more creatively. If you ask people when to get the new ideas, they get the new ideas in their free time. When they're with their friends, they're enjoying their life. So we have to bring in fun at work to create the culture of innovation. So at the center, it provides various training programs. And the third rule of creativity is become a good combiner. So 3 rules: decide to be creative, combine 2 or more things uniquely. So no matter where you go, whatever you see, different places, different experiences, just start combining and start paying attention to opportunities. And suddenly you will have a moment where there's an opportunity and you have the combination, you say, bingo, I got it. And bingo is like a big idea and go, run with it. Once you have the feeling, you know you got the innovative solutions. So, but you have to think about it. It doesn't come only one time and you plan to. You have to become a habitual thinker of new ideas and new capabilities. You know, it comes to my mind that all of us know how to walk. Right, we all know how to walk. We learned very early. But if you notice, few of us jog. Even fewer of us run, and very few race. But if you notice, you walk with your feet, and you can experiment that. You jog with your legs, you run with your guts, and you race with your head. Look at the body posture in a race. Your head is ahead of your feet and body. So you race with your mind. So this is a global race for success, for prosperity, for limited resources we have, and even for the collaborative use of the limited resource for the greater good. So when there's a race, when you're going to join the race, you're going to participate in the race, you must learn. If you notice, every athlete who participates in the race, they go for training. We are in a similar situation for innovation. There's a race, and we must learn. In order for us to be innovating on demand in real time, that means when we need it. So this is a race, and hopefully you all can join in the race and participate, but you must learn. And to learn, what I have been doing is sharing my experience and the knowledge through my books. And the most recent book is The Innovation Solution. And my premise is to demystify the innovation and give people belief that they can learn innovation. It's a big paradigm change. People don't believe they can learn innovation. But we have proven that over and over. We have developed curriculum that is taught in multiple universities around the world. And we have seen people who thought they would never be creative and innovative. They have become innovative. You know, I was doing a black belt, Six Sigma black belt training, and I have a very smart person in my class. And I was doing this creativity exercise, thinking exercise. And we looked back into our eyes, and he wasn't doing anything. And finally said, you know, I gave up. I'm not the creative guy. I'm not born creative. And my parents never encouraged me to be creative. I said, don't blame your parents to be doing this. Let's fix this. So we took a break. We did some entertaining exercises, free him up a little bit, went back to the exercise. And he realized he was the most creative person in the group. So what happens, what we have found, as we grow older, we go through education system, through society, the norms and rules and barriers. We are more learned not to do things rather than do things. So Bob Galvin, who I believe is a great business leader, he said, when you have an idea, instead of saying why, we should say why not. If you have an idea, don't let anybody discourage you from doing it. Go try it. Because what worse can happen? It won't work. And we have learned when it doesn't work, we learn. And if it works, we enjoy the moments of it. So we are at this point where innovation is a required competency at work, in personal life, to grow personally, professionally, academically, intellectually, financially. This is a great opportunity. Our forefathers, our parents did not have this opportunity, but we have today with the advent of internet. We have access to the whole world. Tom Peters said, the death of the distance. 6 seconds, you can talk to anybody in the world. So we are so close to so many people, we can have the virtual clusters. Do go and create big opportunities. So what our methodology does, it has taught us that we should think like Einstein and execute like Edison. Think big without constraints, it's fun, and execute like Edison, you make a lot of money. And wish you all the best. Thank you.